Welcome to Higher Frequencies.
Where do you go every time you leave? Why do you always gotta go somewhere away from me? I keep wondering if someday you'll just keep holding on. And like a fool, I just keep waiting till the hurry comes.
If you can find your way back home again, I hope you can find your way into my arms again.
Howdy, folks. We're back. And yeah, where do we... we just left off. I'm going to get right back into the story. And, man... I'm going to get right back into it. I'm going to try to make this one a little shorter. Much shorter. So yeah, I had this amazing dude had driven me to the proper train station just to get me to Valencia in time before the hostel was closing. And essentially it was just good, I'm going to spend, I don't know, it was like 10 days or something like that there before I head to Alicante. And yeah, not too much in Valencia is like an amazing town. I will say that. It's really cool. It's a, party city, I guess. I didn't really do too much of that there, but it's where I fell in love with paella. It's like, oh my God, I actually still have a bag over here somewhere of some cheap grocery store paella mix from Spain that I should make again. But yeah, it's just incredible. Just like, a rice dish where you can put, I don't know, chicken or prawns or whatever in, but it's incredible. But I remember, I think, yeah, like the good signs kept coming. It was like the first night I was there, I started talking to some guy, and I think he was from Australia. You hear the hum of the piano behind me here. I think he was from Australia. And he's like, oh, where are you from in Canada? And I was like, Prince Edward Island. And, he's like, oh, I've never really, he's like, he's like, wait, where? And I was like, because no one really knows, like, I mean, hell, even some, people from the States are like, not really, I mean, depends where they're from in the States and what they know about geography. I know next to nothing about geography, so I'm one to say anything about that. But I'm trying to get a little better, but I would like to get better. I'm not trying, I'm not doing shit. Still use my maps all the time, but yeah, and he's like, wait a minute. He's like, are you from like a little like island or whatever? He's like, I met one of you guys before. It's like in some, again, traveling or whatever, he had met some guy. I don't know why. I think I remember his name. It was like Alex McLean or something like. Anyways, if you're out there, Alex. But I didn't know him. I was like, what's his name? Because of course, like, odds are, much, much higher than normal. I might actually know the dude if you're from Prince Edward Island. Not so much these days, but back in the day, it used to feel that way. I guess when I used to live there for a long time, although that might be changing, but. And he's like, man, it's like, that guy was wild. He's like, are you like a crazy, like, drinker, like party weird? I was like, what do you mean? And it was just like, I had that energy going into Valencia, but I know I'm not pronouncing that. I don't have this I'm more of a South American, Central American, my Spanish. So forgive me, Spain, but we just won the World Cup, actually. Just won the World Cup a couple of days ago. Well, there's another Robin. And yeah. So anyways, it was just a funny little sign. I was like, yeah, you want to come have a beer today? He's like, yeah, maybe. Anyways, I think I scared him off, but I was just kind of making a joke. But and yeah, not really, not acting like that, but he was a really nice dude. But and other than that, oh, I met this amazing. No, actually, what really this again the signs that were still like because I just had this experience and really like tapped into that that holographic nature of reality. And so when I first got to Valencia, I was going for lunch that day, and I was like, where, what? And I'm trying to eat healthy, trying to eat well, and like, not as best as I could, but also like tapping into the clues and the signs. And I eventually saw a place. I'm like, oh, pool table's nice. It's a good sign. And I went around back, or I went to see if there's seats outside, and there's this guy who reminded me of, well, an old playing poker friend from Nova Scotia, from Halifax. So yeah, I was just like, oh, just kind of funny. And there was a seat beside him, so I was like, perfect. This must be it. I find those things that I pay attention to those kind of the clues. Just as it's like reality or whatever giving me signs like yes, like keep going in this direction, and things are good. Um, you're on a good path for the day or whatever, and not to worry if it's because sometimes even yesterday, and I still don't learn lessons sometime, but yesterday you might see someone that maybe you don't yeah, I don't want to get too much into that. It's a little too much of the mind, and I don't worry about those things. It's just taking the information in, and if there's some stuff that I might not prefer, or someone who reminds me of someone I might not prefer, that aspect of myself to hang out with, and maybe I want to, change my course of action. I maybe want to pivot, do something a little differently. I did not do that yesterday, and and there, again, it's this stubbornness of like, well, am I worried about this? And again, and I wasn't, and it worked out, completely fine. But I could tell my, frequency was a little down this morning. But again, I just took the time to do my practices. Again, a little bit of meditation, a little bit of just clearing it and being like, and actually, and who knows, maybe perhaps leading me to that actually led me to some more clarity, because this morning has been unbelievable. The whole day of really tapping back into what I want to create, where I'm at, and I got a whole nother podcast on that. I wanted to kind of put a bookend on this part of the story first. But yeah, so I ran into him, and then tried to start talking with him, but was he from Austria, or maybe he's from Sweden, I think. I can't remember his name, but really nice chap. And yeah, he didn't speak English. Funny enough for a European, but well, from like that part of Europe, and so I got to practice my Spanish, which was good, and I always love those opportunities. And he ordered a beer, so I'm like, well, as I'm normally not doing lunch beers, but we just had a little beer together and chatted and had a good time, had a good meal, and then off I went. And then I think 2 days ago, or 2 days like after, or something like that, on another side, completely other side of the city, I just like happened to run into him. I was like, oh hey, like what are the odds? And then like 3 days after that, on again, it was almost like we were in a triangle, like the different areas. I know it was like different areas because I was checking out different parts of the town and places to eat and all of these things. And I decided, I was like, man, I missed having the workout area at the place in Casa de Montaña, in the beautiful mountain castle, mini castle. And so I walked by a gym, and I randomly, go into the gym, and sure enough, he's just sitting there. Or look, I can actually do it on this. He's just, rowing, and he's just like, he stops and he slows down. And he looks over at me, and I'm just like, waving to him or whatever, because I'm like, oh my god, great! Like, I guess I should go to the gym. It's a good sign. But also, I was still like, really, like, who is, like, I didn't connect with him that much, but he was starting to get weirded out at that point. Maybe think I was stalking him or something. But I just waved and went along my way, and that was the last one. So it was just like, this whole thing of like, yeah, don't worry, things are going good, and we still see you type of thing, and follow the clues and the signs. Something I tried to do my best, but and then I met this amazing younger dude, Bei Chen, uh, this wonderful Asian dude that who actually lives in Toronto, I do believe. I should yeah, I wonder what he's up to these days. But anyways, we were met at the hostel and had like just a nice vibe, cool, like cool, cool fit. He was had style, something I'm still working on. So I'm still like, I got some rings now, and it's nice. But and anyways, new necklace. Uh, I don't like shopping unless it. Anyways, enough of that. I don't need clothes, but it comes and it goes. And so yeah, it was good, and I, of course, what are you into? Da da da. We started talking about psychedelics, and he really wanted to try LSD, and I was like, well, it just so happens I have some, and if you want to, we could take a day, and go to the park, and sure enough, we did that, and that was good. I just took like a small dose. I was never a big LSD guy. I used it for microdosing. It is really good to like, especially in my days where, I guess before that, it was really where I wanted to kind of cut back on drinking and just it was like easy. Like it's kind of like the rock and roll. It's not so body heavy. It's obviously chemically induced, but it's what I'm realizing, and I got a whole slew of information on that sense, is just like it's a different frequency, it's a different dimension. The LSD dimension, and the mushroom versus all these other different kind of amazing medicines that take you to different dimensions of reality based upon they can, depending on your dosage. But like a micro dose of LSD was always more of my thing, and I think I took just like maybe a half or a quarter, and it was funny. Yeah, he quite enjoyed that. We were laughing because I just kind of got that download of like Mushman, that thing, that whatever, this just I don't like the titles and bios, and it was like can't be like Jay Nicholson, or like none of those are taken up, and I wasn't. Anyway, so Mushman was funny, and it was just kind of started to tell some sort of a story, and something I'm contemplating more of as I'm getting more mature and thinking about a lot of different things. But I mean, it's again, a name's a name. Call me whatever the heck you want, and yeah. So that was great. Oh yeah, so the joke was like, he's like, man, he's like, I remember just saying that like I'm more into mushrooms and that's more my thing. And at the end of it, he's like, Jay, I think I might be acid, man. And it was really funny. And anyways, great dude. I hope he's doing well. And then the only other real thing in Valencia, well, I'm sure I'm missing lots, but I'd randomly got invited to go check out a rainbow gathering, which is wild. So on New Year's Eve with Bea, we had got invited to this older spiritual gentleman had like this property where he kind of like opened it up for hosting for people who are coming through and traveling, backpackers and stuff, if they needed a place to stay or like a couple nights, and there was just a really community spiritual vibe there. You could tell this guy's really tapped into the creativity and the love and just being a kind, generous, open-hearted, amazing dude. And I wish I remembered his name. Oh, it just almost popped in my name. I can vision him right now. It's like Jurda or Judah, not Judas, but no. It starts with a J, I think. Anyways, I could probably find him in my contacts, but a really cool place there. And so it wasn't like the rainbow gatherings, and I'm going to butcher this. I didn't really look it up, but from what I remember, it's like they have these gatherings. And this was years ago when I looked up my notes, but they have these like temporary off-grid communities that like people in that network of people where they have like meetups, and so it might be like in the middle of some woods on, and I'm assuming what it would be like government land where it's just like, you're allowed to camp and do whatever you want. And then it's and they just have this like, brings together all these amazing people from all walks of life to celebrate, peace, joy, love, unity, and harmony with nature. And these things have been happening since. So I guess I did. This was in my notes from my book notes, but happening since 1972, inspired by like hippie counterculture and spiritual movements of the 60s. So it's really cool. And it's just like, so this wasn't like an official one. This was like, I don't know I can't remember how many, maybe like 20 or 30 people there. And something like that. But yeah, so that day, I can't remember how far I just had to go. And again, I got to learn the trains a little more. So I caught a train and then just tried to, walked or hitchhike or something, but just tried to walk to the place. And I just brought my sleeping bag, and I think, did I even bring a tent? I can't remember, but I don't even think I had my notes say I had a tent, but unless I borrowed it from someone, but I'm not sure. I had no idea what the heck was going on, and I couldn't get a hold of the other guy who's actually going to be showing up later. But they just like, I walked in, they're like, hey, everyone just comes and hugs me and like, welcome here, and they found me a spot. Maybe not everyone, I can't really remember, but yeah, just welcome me with open arms into their space and to allow you to stay as long as you want. And it's these amazing just community setups where it's just about, now it's not, I'll get to that part, but it's about, harmony with nature and peace, love, and unity. And, nothing is wasted, and just trying to like live for free as well. Not for free, but like, contribute what you can contribute. But if you couldn't contribute anything, it didn't matter. Like, come one, come all. And they were very, very wise in how they would get food and how everything, and there was still like structure and organization, and it was really good. They'd have like a talking circle every morning, and there's no hierarchy or boss or anything like that, but it was organized and kind of like, who's going to get the food today, who's cooking today, who's doing this, and like, there's meditation first thing in the morning at 8, and then there's breath work and this, and different people would do different things, put on different courses or like, like sessions or whatever. And it was just, it was really cool. And it was funny. I guess I was still a little more like, I don't think I was quite ready. I think I would have experienced it a little differently these days, but I was like, whoa, like kind of like, it was a bit much for me because it was very like, very earthy. You know what I mean? Very like, very hippie, like, dudes walking around naked if they felt like, whoever could walk around naked if it felt like. It's just like, we're all one thing. And no alcohol, you could, well, oddly enough, I'll get to that, and just really about, and I guess, it wasn't an official one. So, but, everyone cook together. That's right. Everyone would kind of like help out with the cooking, and, there'd be then fires at night with songs and what they had this like a magic hat, and they would pass around after meals. It was really cool. They would do like, everyone, again, it's like a little bit much for me back then, but like, you're very hippie, you join hands, but to give grace and thanks for the food. And like, I was just, going through my own spiritual process. So this was really interesting to me to see like this community that just came together too. Like, I think some people knew them, but there was just camper vans and tents and stuff set up all over this property, again, by another amazing individual who would just host and, to set this up to be able to bring people together to celebrate life and to have these songs and fires and share food and to take care of each other. So yeah, it was very cool. Like zero waste and they would like, so sometimes like there was farmers market nearby, so they would go some of the, like, creative ways to do it. They would go and ask if, like, are you throwing out any food and stuff that was no longer good to sell? Then, and rather than the people throwing them out, they would get some food. Some people would busk for donations. And then at the end of meals, there was like this magic hat where, like, if you had money in every day, I tried to just, contribute and give, because, I had the funds, so I could. Probably not enough. That's my cough there, I think, because I was still working on the money programming at that point, big time. Yeah, see? Yeah, and and then the other things too is they always have like massive cleanup efforts to make sure everything wherever they're at is like always left as is or better. So very cool. Shout out to all those guys who I met at that place. It was outside Valencia in 2024. Jadhos, maybe it's the guy who I got, something like that. I'm butchering, yeah, as I always do, even with my, not always, I watch my words, but shout out to that beautiful man and everyone in Valencia. And then it was off to Alicante. And so this is where I got the work away, where Bea had kind of set me up, and like, man, understanding how creative you can be traveling, and again, to set these things up. And what did I miss here? I'm getting a sign that I missed something. I'm sure I did, but one of these things. It was like, it wasn't even really a work away. It was like a pet sitting gig, and yeah, it was kind of perfect because I was in that. I always name my journals. I was typing all my journals and stuff. And this was the creative act phase where, I had unlocked this desire to start. I was, sharing videos online and then just doing this writing every day. And so this was kind of perfect because I had to walk this amazing dog, Bluey, who was just this awesome border collie. And it's just like 2 years old, something like that, but he was just like so well behaved and so like just an amazing dog. And their cat, is it Coffee? I think so. And yeah, really nice hosts too. They were like amazing hosts. They were young. It was a girl from London, and then a man from Spain. Amazing couple. They were super nice. Welcomed me in. Like, he was in the military, and she'd owned a cafe and was doing like, like, what? Can't think of the word. Not like when when a chef goes and catering and like home to like making meals for people for the week and a whole bunch of stuff. An amazing cook. And so she had the cafe, and that was the other thing too. There wasn't supposed to be any food, but she'd always bring me back all this food from the cafe. Here, do you want some fucking croissant or like this treat, this? And when they were cooking too, they were just really nice. And like, I think she was probably my age too. And so, we didn't, yeah, probably. I can't remember. Should have. I tried to name names in here, and anyways, just to give a little shout out to them, amazing couple. But and yeah, so yeah, I'd have to walk Bluey for like 2 hours a day. I think 6 days a week, and then the other interesting, maybe 5 days a week. I'm not sure. Yeah, 5 days a week because they worked so much, and God love them for taking care of the dog so well. They knew they can just leave them cooped up, in the apartment. And so they, got someone. They had this granny suite in the back. It was essentially like a living room and a bedroom. And then we shared the bathroom and kitchen. And so that was normally for like their in-laws would come and kind of help with that. And then if not, they would have someone else come in and to take amazing care of the dog. And and Alicante is just this incredible, vibrant town that's just is very, now I think it's gone through again one of those gentrification things where it's a lot of a lot of people coming in and settling in, and making it hard for locals to live, and all of this stuff is, again, I don't want to get into. Well, there's lots more about, it's just the dark side of, there's good and bad. Yeah, not going to get into that. But yeah, just it's well known, I believe, for like, nomads, and can't think of the term again either. It doesn't matter, but and then yeah, it was amazing. So it was great for me, even just to do the walking as I'm getting into the creative process, because Richard again, as I always say, is like, what is it? One of his wise sayings is, "By walking it is solved," or maybe that's not even his quote, but so it allowed me just to learn this contemplation, and to think about what I was writing, and to contemplate what I was going through, and you're kind of moving. I'm learning again somatically. You can sit and do your, I even when I'm meditating, I'll have little things pop in my head that kind of help with my day, but my normal practice is contemplation. So massaging these ideas and things that you're dealing with to come up with the solution, come up with the answer you're looking for, or at least where you're heading in that moment. So yeah, I'm going to be my J's. How many times do I say the word contemplate? So that was good. Oh yeah, and then I had to clean, like probably 2 or 3 hours, just like the common spaces, tidy up the kitchen and like do the floors, and because the dog was there and stuff, which is really interesting. I just I was CFO of this place, and I was a manager of an accounting firm, and now and there is something that I'm coming back to now. It's like nothing is like below me, but that work, it's really interesting. It makes my mind go back into this old thing. Yeah, it was like back in this old work mode. It was like it would activate the monkey mind and all these thoughts and weird. And I suppose it's just like the frequency of this, like, and maybe what I was, just the answer coming to me now, that I would kind of rush doing the cleaning, and like me trying to get it done fast instead of like moving through these things with grace and treating every act and every chore and every thing as as a sort of a ceremony, which is, yes, okay, which is one of the things that Richard mentions in the Dream Arc and the Gene Keys courses. Like, if you really, because I struggled, initially through like rushing through everything to get to the thing. It's the opposite of what all that exists is now. So it's like, enjoy what you're doing, and same thing, enjoy the journey. And it's like, and I'm going through that process again now, where it's like, well, I just want this done, or I want to get caught up on this podcast, and then I can start to. And it's like, no. It's like, just enjoy your day, like, slow down and get out of that frequency and tap into, whatever you need to kind of find that. And that's the crazy part about me slowing down. If I'm rushing, trying to finish everything, well, it's not going to get done the way I want it to. It's going to be very not fun doing it. And normally I just trip and make messes along the way. But when that energy comes, I'm a sacral manifesting generator. When that, like, firing in all cylinders energy come, I do love it, and it's great. But it's like, it's more so like I have the clarity, and it's like I know what I'm doing, and I can bang off stuff pretty quickly in a row. And it feels like that energy is starting to come back online, which is really nice. And because my ass needs to get back to work. We'll talk about in the next one. And so yeah, and so it was just interesting to be like, how isn't this interesting? And that's a note that I'll talk about. It's kind of like a tool from Access Consciousness, which will be later, is coming up soon. Another wonderful modality, energy work practice. and yeah, just man, everything was just like it was good. And then just diving more into, again, I was listening to the Creative Act as well. So on my walks, it was like first time I had done hadn't really done much. I like reading books, but I couldn't get a copy. I wanted to get a copy of the Creative Act by Rick Rubin before I left, which has been like my Bible on creativity. It's like this podcast and everything. Although I started to, yeah, and maybe that's what maybe turned the thing off. It's like, I'm not making these things with any expectation. I'm not, you're doing the thing for credit or for whatever. And I'm certainly not making it, I'm not trying to make it to cater to other people. Now, that being said, I want to be relatable and not be like, there's even the last episode, every time I review an episode, I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, I didn't say this right. I didn't say that right. But I'm honestly just trying to do them in one take and move on and be like, well, I'm not getting back into perfectionism because that was a bad one to have to try to break. And that there's too much that I want to create, and I'll just learn as I go. And, take everything I say with a grain of salt. Believe me, you're going to have to. And I'm just, trying to, remember stuff that happened 2 years ago as best I can. That was cool. Again, I was doing the Nick Zai course and Gene Keys and diving into lots of cool stuff. Like childhood stuff came up. And that was even before, I'd reached out to my old dear childhood friends that we kind of well, I screwed up in when we were young, and I don't think we just couldn't hang out or whatever. So I had reached out to Lee and Ben, and just again, just poured kind of I remember it was just going through this stuff, and it's finding this past emotional trauma that I think I didn't care about, the mind didn't care about, and just crying one night about how much how amazing of friends they were, and how much didn't realize it was sad to me that I went a different direction, and from them that altered the course of my life drastically. And so yeah, so that was really cool. And the other two, yeah, I said this because I wanted to put a picture. Yeah, I made a nice altar. Just these funny things that because I'd picked all those glass and the rocks and shells and everything from, it's a little immature, but in the beach town, I kind of carry them around. I like to set this stuff up as just a nice, I don't know, a little remembrance to keep my spiritual nature and to not fall off into arrogance, and to keep myself centered, and that I have many different sides of myself, and I like to keep that side running, and like to try to keep some grace present, and how all the pieces just magically fit. There wasn't room for, you could, practically speaking, but it was just kind of cool. And I want to start trying to put pictures and other videos, maybe being a little more artful for anyone who might actually watch this thing. And I think it's more so just kind of for me. I'll see how long that takes, but I don't know, maybe just throw in a couple pictures as I'm talking about. I'm thinking a picture of Bluey, when I mentioned him, and it was cool. So yeah, and just doing my thing, just walking the dog, writing, and then I started meeting these amazing people through meetup groups. And so I found this, I think it might have been, I think Bethany, that's her name, my host and friend, I hope. Oh, it's terrible, I can't think of her husband's name, but maybe it'll come to me as well. And I think she had suggested I, check out these meetup groups, and it was amazing. That's one of the great things about all these, people from everywhere and from all different cultures and countries and stuff in Alicante. is that they had these meetup groups, and there's pretty almost one every night. So it was like, a language exchange, which is really just getting together and having a drink if you felt like, or just having a water or tea, or you can, some people would be off in corners actually doing that. I didn't really do too much of that, unfortunately. Every time I seem to get those opportunities, but it's, something I'm still working on, but it's getting better. It's getting better. And yeah, funny enough, and it was just cool. So there'd be like, art nights and just whatever, just these random nights. So there might be music, there might be a trivia, there might be an art night, and it's like, there might be 10 people there, or 20 people there, or 25, depending what's going on. And you get to meet this really eclectic group of kind of travelers or locals, and just really opportunities to get to know some amazing people. And it was funny. Well, I'm saying this because I'm still doing Duolingo. I won't get into that, but not yet, because the first one that I went to, and I had been, again, learning about manifestation, and about what Dr. Joe was saying about, be that person who is the writer, who is the actor, feel that energy of, you're in that reality of what you've already, kind of hope and dream and desire. And then reality, the universe has to kind of provide you that pathway to get there. So it's like, give off that energy, give off that frequency. Something I've been kind of rebuilding over since getting home, and redesigning what exactly that is. Yeah. So, and I remember, someone asked, and at this point, yeah, I wasn't doing, I wasn't doing any accounting really, other than, odd stuff that I've always done for people over the years, but I hadn't started the little business yet. And so it's like, well, what do you, I remember my dear brother Nev sat beside me. He's like, so what do you do? And I said, oh. And all I've been doing the last 6 weeks or whatever, 3 weeks, was writing, or 4 weeks or whatever, a month, was writing every day and putting that in my affirmation. It's like, oh, I'm a writer. He's like, no way, so am I. And he had wrote like plays and like scripts, and actually and I'm sorry, Nev, if I'm getting this wrong, but, and done lots of work in that realm. So that's really cool. And he's like, yes, and Santi is also a writer as well too. You got to meet these guys. So right off the bat, I met these two amazing men who truly, utterly helped me. And Santi was just like, man, this like deeply spiritual, wise man who's like a qigong teacher, who I've still yet to get qigong classes from, who I hopefully will very soon, to do that kind of energy work, and again help me keep in that flow state, in that high frequency state. And yeah, so, and he was kind of in a similar predicament. Not, I don't know, he didn't have too many at that moment in time. Too many people who were, and he was teaching me about it too, because I would complain about this, like, no one understands what I'm going through, this victim bullshit about, I'm this spiritual loner or something like that. Little did I know I was making that up in my mind, and just getting the time and space for me to figure it out, because I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I still don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And but to realize, it's like, I love everyone, and I am so utterly grateful for everyone that's in my life, and I don't give a shit if they're spiritual or what. And what is spirituality? Because some of the people who I labeled is maybe not spiritual, or maybe more spiritual than me, for just by being. And again, like, who I'm here with in Cape Breton is like my dear friend Mike Hawthorne, who's like, and Peter, who has this cabin. It's like, they're so deeply connected with nature, and are grounded, and in community, and just their authenticity. It's like, that's spirituality. That's, what I want to like embody more of, is just like, forget all this other stuff. I mean, it was part of my process that I know I'm, generating this wealth of wisdom. Sometimes a little, see that I'm making fun of myself. Because it hasn't felt very wise, I guess, over the years. But it was again, the wisest thing I would say to someone is kind of pick a path and stick to it, and not, go into this. It's part of the spiritual trap. Is like, there's endless teachings, and there are endless courses, and there's endless stuff, and I say to myself, I'm on the Sage's path right now, which is, the longest Gene Keys course ever. And after that, it's like, and even now, it's like he's made it so concise and so perfect. It's like no time whatsoever I need to spend on it. It's just, embodying, and part of that is just embodying more of these frequencies. And then I just want to get back to creating and living my life, and maybe, work, and finding service, and all of just being me, being this best version of just having fun and making life simple, and working on what inspires me, what excites me, and making actions towards what I want to create in my life, because that's, manifestation is fucking great, and it will happen for some people who are good enough. But I'm not going to sit around and think of houses going to fall in my lap. I got to make, part of your, your manifestation, and being that guy, or wanting to be the actor, or wanting to be the writer and stuff, is like, well, you got to write. You got to do the stuff. You got to walk towards that thing. But if you don't believe you could ever be a writer while writing every day, you're going to have a hard time. But people, I'm sure, still do it, and still are successful with it. It's just because they are so good at it in their, conscious mind, but their subconscious, maybe no. I don't know. I guess the conscious mind kind of teaches. I don't want simple, easy is right, but it's been helping me just as I get these flashes of creativity, and I'm really getting back. Hopefully, every time. You know what? I'm not going to say it because every time I say it, it's like another thing comes up, or I get distracted by something else I think I need to work on. And there is some energy and effort that you have to do to kind of overcome some of these, perceived obstacles. Well, sometimes real life obstacles and real life stuff to be able to move through, and, to put in that earnest. And I've always been a hard worker. It's like, there's a reason why I was a workaholic and didn't mind the 60-hour work week, is because the way I was raised, the way I was a little bit programmed. But even now, when I'm doing this stuff, it's like, I want to get up and, have my morning practices and work out and prayer. Well, yeah, I'm getting back to that. And, but try to keep that as quick as I can. And then if it's a reading, it's a writing. It's like, what do I need to work on today to, put things to plan. And now I'm thinking about other stuff, which I will talk, thinking about accounting again. And, what little things can I be of? Yeah, just getting back to stuff. No more. Now you got to have your dawdling days, because it's actually, I'm learning a lot when I do some of these days where I go out and play, and just kind of, play with reality and follow the clues, and learning a lot. But that's like, again, that was like my date day, where it's like once a month, take myself out and get the coffee and do the thing. I might meet the person that gives me the idea, the influence, or that connection that just sparks something wonderful in my life, which I can't wait to talk again. I gotta figure out if I should go off on these tangents about, how that connects, and kind of be talking about my current life at the same time. Maybe, and just make these a little longer. Because, yeah, I'll do that a different day. But where are we at? And yes, Jaunty. And then he introduced me to Master Shah, this amazing Taoist teacher. So, and I've always been into Taoism, so that really resonated with me. And he does this amazing calligraphy work where you can, he gets these energies and frequencies from higher densities of reality. He calls them dimensions, and that's how I've whatever my brain works in densities, and then there's layers of 7 densities, and then there's unlimited kind of dimensions in each one is kind of where I'm at with that. I don't know. it's what resonates with me, if it feels right. So I had, which I ended up doing, and also, this man, he's got 30 books, and he really just helps a lot of people learn and teach in these new amazing modalities. And like I know, like while doing these, so I'd signed up and you could pay like whatever, it was even like $10 in a month, or I think now it's like $25 a month, and you get all the calligraphies, and it's like healing things. So if it's specific for like your pancreas or your liver or your kidneys or your heart, and you do these calligraphies while, I believe, saying what he's saying. Yeah, singing. While singing. Also, it's like Tao songs, and then you follow the calligraphy, and that calligraphy through your body is like unlocking these other things that'll help heal. And I know, like part of my practice when I got back to Canada was tapping into those things, and it would just like raise my frequency, tap me into these frequencies, and just get me beaming. And maybe it's something I want to spend 10 minutes a day on again. But I'm trying to do the less is more thing, simplify at the moment, so maybe not. But amazing and amazing teacher, and holding on to that, but maybe. And he's from Canada, so he's in Ontario, based in Ontario, and I think does a wealth of good for his community at the most affordable thing, most affordable prices possible. So it seems. So again, just another amazing master. And yeah, so like Santi was just a wonderful gift, and we still talk to this day, and we're hopefully going to get him on a call. I would like to get him on a podcast, because that's what I'm moving into. I can't wait to, these stories could go on forever, and which is why I want to start getting to the current day, so it's not a never-ending catch-up. But to get people on for other, just to talk, and just to just have fun, have more fun. So I'm learning through my relationships these days. That's the other thing about me. I'm given this amazing gift of just understanding everyone's a perfect mirror for what I need to know in the frequency I'm at. And by just learning to listen and stop talking, I can learn so much more. And now that I'm able to do that, I'm getting connected with more and more of those amazing people that can help me. So it's just such a wonderful gift, and it's part of the Venus sequence that I'm in on the Sage's Golden Path. It'll be contemplation and gene keys, and anyway, so another thing, but it's gonna be next episode. But yeah, and then Santi, man, amazing dude, and he really helped me a lot, and just shout out to Santi. And then Nev was he's just amazing guy, and supposed to say more there. I'm missing something, but so sorry, Santi. There's something else, but just someone who kept me. It's almost like every time I start to lose my spiritual path or spiritual connection to the divine, like he would send me a message, and I'd be like, oh, it's time to, like, I'm losing my way a little bit. And that was something that he came in, like, because he's a channeler. He's like, oh, he taught me automatic writing and how to start getting into that. And something that I'd been kind of working and I'd been doing. And so it was amazing to connect with this man who was also doing the automatic writing. And so his kind of teachings, and then for him to share how he did it, and to give me some new prayers, and to give me, more stuff to be able to work with during that time, that really, really helped and allowed me to tap in, allowed me to grow my writing abilities and to start getting flowing more. And that's more about the Tao. Obviously, the Taoism work is just, getting in that flow state is, the goal is Wu Wei. As Richard says, the most amazing teaching, most possibly the most incredible teaching on earth is like the art of not doing. This is, by being in this constant state of clarity and high frequency and flow. It's like everything is, you're literally, when you're in one of those, everything's attracted to you. Now, of course, you still do, but out of flow, at a pace where, like, it's just ease, it's just joy constantly when you're in that thing. So, yeah, which is an incredible thing. And yeah, so he helped me with that whole process, and just reminds me to kind of, because one of the things he channeled one night was, I'd rather have him on to talk about this. It's like, what was he said? He's like, do you always want to be a rebel? And it just like came out of him like a whole bunch of times, and I'm starting to figure out what that is. I think it's pushing against like what I think is best, or a little too much comfort, or a little too much me being arrogant, or me being, against the system, fighting, forcing, instead of just being more ease and slowing down and allowing things to come to me, and to not worry about the rushing, and not worry about trying to get anywhere. It's like, enough of that. But these things, it is so funny, it comes in this cycle, and that's the next one. And yeah, and that was great. So he we had a day or two where like he took me to these different towns, and he introduced me to Amir, this amazing young guy from Kurdistan. And one of the things I had just listened to in the Gene Keys was how about the Kurds were so resilient and creative and strong, and all the trials and tribulations that they've been through, that they could always just come together and just make amazing camps despite their if they're in refuge, kicked out of their land and all this stuff, and they just really would come together as people, and then still share what little food they have, and still have music. And so it was really cool to meet Amir, who happened to play. Oh shoot! I called it a hammered dulcimer, but that's not what it's called. The Santor, I believe, is what he called. Because when I'm going through these things, sometimes I like to just reach out to people and be like, hey, what are you up to? Do you mind if I put your video on the end of this? So I do have a clip of him playing it for me, and just so I'm gonna put it at the end of this podcast. Yeah, because he gave me the go ahead, which is great. And yeah, so that was really cool. Neb showed me his house, and we got to travel, showed me some different places, and just was really supportive on a journey, and just helping young people. So shout out to Nev. And again, oh my God, yes. Well, I'll get to that. And again, these amazing dudes. So Alicante is just this magical town that because now I have my dear friend who's a completely different other fucking a bunch of stories. And so he left, I met him in Peru, and then he went to Bolivia for, he had to leave Peru for the visa, and then he, finally kind of got to go back to where his son is, and kind of like, close up shop from where he had kind of last lived, I think, and kind of had business and stuff, and to take care of things. And, my dear brother Raj, and so, and then I was like, where are you going to at again in Spain? He's like, Alicante. I'm like, get the fuck out. What is with this town? And it's like, something's telling me I might want to come back and visit Spain for the fourth time. So yeah, it's just, again, it's like the beaches there, there's castles and really nice, stuff, the food, and the city's really cool. And, yeah. And yeah, so just, I reached out to Nev and was like, hey, can you help? Because now he's looking for, he wants to just staying, go get a hotel, a hostel, and trying to find some long-term accommodation for my brother. And of course, he, so I got a message from Raj, so I need to listen to it. And yeah. And who else? Oh yeah, I met Victor, who I met when walking. He was always, I just kind of would run into him again too. A really cool guy, and so he's working in visual. He's working in a VFX artist, and an actor. He's working on his acting skills and becoming an actor. And he loved like the plays and movies and like books and all this stuff. So he was really, and man, I wish he had wanted, I wish I had gone to some of these, like he was into musicals and stuff. And I've never really given that a chance, but I've been getting the hints, and it's like, just get over myself, like go to one. So there's one that my folks are going to come from away, which is, a famous one about how, people oh my God. Oh, wow. Yeah, through the 9/11 stuff? And no, it was a plane crash, I think. No, I think it was a 9/11 thing where they just kind of like, there was no flying, and then all the Newfoundlanders, and again, I'm butchering, I can't remember, just a story of like, people from, I think, all over, and then the Newfoundlanders taking them in, and just, them getting to taste and the hospitality of the amazing, people that are Newfoundlanders. So I want to go see that when I get back to BEI, another amazing island, as I sit here on Cape Breton Island. I don't know what it is about us islanders, eh? There's something to it. And I guess I could, what I was contemplating the other day, and was this like, because we're surrounded by bodies of water, and the ocean is its own living energy with amazing frequency, and it just like almost like insulates us from like the heaviness of the matrix, or like the busy life of cities. And because it's always a lot slower island life, right? It's just more slower, and it just, in my experience, more down to earth, more earthy, more funny, just like kind of like not so. And not that city people are, I'm not trying to judge or whatever, just, what can I say? I'm a little biased. Half my family's from Newfoundland, half my family's from PEI, and I friggin' love Cape Bretoners. And I've loved every island I've ever been to, so. And I love the ocean, and, so it's one of these things. I'm a little biased in that, but that it just kind of insulates us. And in my case, being from Prince Edward Island, is like before they had the bridge, it's like the corporations just weren't kind of like, there was too much money so it was just like, we weren't expanded upon into this more materialistic corporate kind of world. It was kind of more left, more nature, and more kind of frequencies that I think allowed us to be a little more, unbeknownst to us, spiritual in nature and grounded. And anyways, shout out to all the islanders out there. Oh, and how could I forget that Santi also introduced me to Autobiography of a Yogi. So I think I had mentioned this before, but yeah, that Yogananda, that amazing yogi that brought what well he brought the school of yoga to North America, and now it's I won't get into that because I don't want to judge or whatever, but it's yoga is a very amazing tantric. It's just, heck, I'm not one to talk about it, but it's a whole different, complete, utter, beautiful system and to live your life and how to manage your mind and your thoughts and your emotions and then move the body and all of these things and to create a beautiful way of life. But I'm not, heck, that's why I started calling my yoga stretching. Like, I just stretch, but it's done properly. It's part of the yoga. Yes, the art of yoga. And so that book kind of like allowed me to understand. It's like, oh, I'm not crazy and I'm not too wild. It's like, there are these beings that existed that had all of these amazing, like supernatural powers, and that could levitate and teleport and be two places at once. And it's just this like crazy high frequency book. I think it was like Steve Jobs that said he like read it every year or like would give out copies to like, people at seminars and stuff. It's just this amazing, incredible, and he's so much more than that as well too for us. And so another gift from Santi. And maybe it's time for me to read it again. Maybe it's a hint there. And yeah, and then at another meetup, I had actually met someone from, and these are more the clues in the sign. It was a meetup, and I think that was actually a legitimate language exchange, like held during the day, and we would, or that was one I think I actually would contribute, like donate to, and someone was running it, organizing it, and Eddie was there, and I remember sitting this girl. First of all, she reminded me of my ex-girlfriend, who was quite good looking, and also she had a sticker on her phone. I think one was a mushroom and the other was like it was a mushroom playing a banjo, and I'm like, well, that's a good sign, I got to talk to her. And so we kind of hit it off, and then she actually ended up she was kind of like, Eddie, it's really funny, had lots of edibles. And Jay was almost out of edibles. And it's something that, like, during that time, I like, God, I haven't had an edible in whatever, in a month or months. I've had, like, I haven't really got into that. And yeah, again, staying soberish as I can. And yeah. And I was like, oh my God. So finally, because I was like, oh, I'm going to have to go home soon or whatever. Not because of that, but, I was getting to the point where I wanted to go home soon. Because all I wanted to do was to write and create and to study, and I didn't want to spend this time kind of roaming around. And it's kind of reminding me of how I feel now and how I've kind of felt all summer. And not to say that I won't travel this winter. And it's just kind of how I like to travel, is to find these towns and to be able to kind of stay and live there and then go on random adventures, experience the culture, experience the land, experience the indigenous wisdom there, and take these opportunities while traveling. Some things that I missed on my last trip, and some I did, yeah. And but it was just part of what I was going through, part of my process. So. And yeah, so I got to meet up with her, and she had this amazing friend, Ben. I'm going to have to reach out to them as well, too. But so they're just fucking awesome, cool folks that showed up to Eddie and Ben. And I think I had heard from, like, she'd sent me like a random photo of them, like, I don't know, year and a half ago. So I'll have to reach out to her and see how she's doing and put a pic in of us. But, and yeah, and I think I'm going to leave it there for now. That's probably long enough. I never have a clock around here, but, and maybe like one more about the story and then maybe a bookend, but I want to get into some new stuff and yeah, it's all for now. Ciao.
Yeah.